You know, one really weird idea I keep seeing being floated around is that Okabe somehow deserves the suffering he gets, and this is just wrong on so many levels that I just want to unpack it and then talk about why the ending, which he does deserve, is so goddamn perfect. Okabe is never ever anything but good. Really think about it. When they get to testing the phone wave, name subject to change, he decides winning the lottery is the best way to objectively test it. And all the girls berate him for being so greedy, but when it comes to the actual money, he backs out of first prize. And he backs out of second prize too. He settles on third prize, which is like $1,000, and then Anuka just screws that up. This is not even the opportunity to be bad. Who gives a shit if he wins the lottery? What, he's gonna cheat someone out of randomly stumbling upon a huge amount of money that they didn't earn either? Who cares? But he doesn't even do this because he still feels wrong taking money that isn't his. This is the only time Okabe even considers doing something that could be considered wrong, and yet he would never ever follow through with it. So when people claim that he deserves his suffering, that is fucked up on so many levels. But wait, you say, he was screwing with the universe and ignoring the consequences. And yeah, he was, but this isn't his just desserts. This is what we call tragedy, for 3 reasons. 1, he did it for his friends. Everything Okabe does is to try and make his friends' lives better. While he can occasionally be kind of a jackass,
幼馴染であっても金は貸さん。お前に今人生の厳しさを教えてやろう。
at his core, he's basically selfless. Instead of using the time machine to serve his own ends, he only uses it for the people around him. Again, as we see with the lottery, he barely has the capacity to even consider using it for himself. 2, and this kind of ties into the first one, he's a scientist. That's just what scientists do. They take things and they go, what would happen if we did it like this? And now we have computers and medicine and Pringles and all the good things that science brings us. Kurisu is the exact same way. Daru, too, to a lesser extent. They're all spellbound by their own sense of curiosity. Not that they don't fuck up, because they obviously do, but this isn't malice, this isn't something they deserve, this is tragedy. And 3, those last 2 reasons don't even matter because the universe itself turned on him from the moment he and Daru sent the first D-mail, which they did by accident. All they did was hook up a cell phone and a microwave because they thought it'd be funny if they could use their phones to heat up chicken. That's funny, right? I mean, I think it's funny. Everything that happened to him happened not because of anything he did or wanted to do, but because the events of Steins Gate were fated to happen. See my video on episode 10. Welcome back, by the way, to the very last episode of my series analyzing, in depth, literally every single episode of Steins Gate. Well, we might do the epilogue. Again, I'll put a link to the epilogue video at the end. Before we get to the ending, though, I just want to talk about a couple things going on here with Kurisu. Like this.
なんだいきなり。なんだではない。あなたのタイムマシン理論はなんだ。
Kurisu doesn't just show up to Dr. Nakabachi's lecture. When it starts, she's just standing there outside, looking at the sign and deciding whether or not she should come in, and she only does when Okabe makes a fool out of himself. I mean, how did her father know to meet her upstairs when she clearly didn't talk to him at any point during or after his lecture? She must have arranged to meet him beforehand. So, the questions here are, does she go in because Okabe's disrupting this conference like a fucking moron, or because she's curious about him and what he said earlier, or both? And is the question of how this man who just ran upstairs a few moments ago is suddenly raving like a lunatic in a room full of people part of it? Food for thought. This probably isn't as complicated as I'm making it out to be though, so here's a few more. Kurisu wrote the paper on time travel just to impress her father, who grew to hate her because she kept proving herself smarter than him. Yet, here she's produced the best paper on time travel ever written, and she thinks it's going to make him like her? For a genius, she sure can be a fucking moron sometimes. But I guess that's just who Kurisu is. When she looks for something, she can't help but find answers. What was she gonna do, write a shitty paper? That was never gonna happen. How else would she make him love her again? The only way she'd actually do that is by humiliating herself as a scientist, by stooping down to his level. But the thought of doing that would never ever occur to her. The only thing occupying her mind is the search for truth, and she's far too smart to miss it. It's this amazing paradox of utter genius and amazing stupidity that drives her sense of curiosity. Here's another reason why curiosity is tragedy. Here is this brilliant girl that only wanted her father to love her, and now because of her, a man got stabbed. She's only ever done everything right, and now look at her life. Her only crime was curiosity, and yet her life and death lies in the balance of the universe. And this sounds weird to put into words, but there's a beauty to Kurisu as she collapses unconscious here. She seems so pure and innocent, and yet so magnificent. I said in episode 10 that every character deep down knows how things are meant to be. And here we see this again as Kurisu lies face down in a pool of Okabe's blood. Looking at her lying there so peacefully, he realizes that finally all is right in the world and that everything is exactly how it should be.
これは間違いなく俺が見たクリスだ。
So now let's talk about the ending shots. I love every part of the messy lab. It shows us that this is a real place occupied by real people. Everything in here has been drawn in intentionally. The computer, the couch, the upa cushion, the table. Everything here has a purpose. Not necessarily to Okabe in the lab. They probably got almost all of this shit used, or let's be honest, free. But drawing it all in helps build a complete picture of who these characters are and what kind of life they live. And finally, we see all of the characters getting the ending they each so deserve. All each of them ever wanted was to be loved, and any bad thing any of them did was to serve this end. We see Moeka and Mr. Braun living in peace. Moeka finally with somewhere to belong, and Mr. Braun living a peaceful life with his daughter. We see Mayuri and Daru looking forward 8 years into the future to the appearance of lab member 008. We see Fennis doing fetish things like always. And we see the star-crossed lovers, Okabe and Kurisu, once again brought together by the hands of fate in front of the place they first met. The one place that started it all, in the heart of Akihabara. The pins aren't just a mark of friendship. The broken pin, that was a sign from the universe that something is wrong with it. And the complete pin, created by Okabe, is a symbol of everything being right with it. When he leaves a pin with each of the lab members and none of them really know why, that's exactly the point. Because there's beauty in the unknown. The Steins Gate world line is one without time travel, one with an unknown future. So it's a mark of friendship, but also a mark of things to come, whatever they might be. The future is completely unknown, but this is the one thing they do know, that everything is exactly how it should be, and that is why the lab will never change. And all of this is exactly what's so important about Okabe and Kurisu's reunion. Despite not knowing what the future holds, they both knew this meeting was fated to happen. Okabe speculates where Kurisu is, where the universe might have taken her. But the reason he was wandering around Akihabara, the reason both of them were wandering around Akihabara is because, deep down, he knew he would find her here. And so too did she. Because this is how things are meant to be.
未来のことは誰にもわからない。だからこそこの再会が意味するように無限の可能性があるんだ。
So, as we wrap up this series, I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about what's next for this channel. And wait, first, if you've stuck with me throughout this entire thing, I am super flattered that anyone would sit through almost half the runtime of an anime listening to someone talk about said anime, because that's crazy, but thank you. A bunch of people asked me if I'm going to do 02, and I feel like the answer should be pretty obvious if you've seen my other videos, particularly last week's completely derailed episode, but no. No, I'm not gonna do 0. So what's next? Well, I have a couple ideas. One is to find another anime to do this autistic level deep dive analysis to, because I think this turned out pretty well, but to be honest, I can't just pick another favorite anime to do. For one, Steins Gate is my favorite anime, so we've already kind of peaked here, at least until something better comes along, which, according to my calculations, should be around the heat death of the universe, but I mean, I've been wrong before. I could go back to regular critiques, but honestly, it's kind of hard to stand out doing that, and not that many people tuned in. Although, maybe I am just way better at this when I started, because, funny story, when I first started to take this YouTube anime critic thing seriously, my first thought was, hey, I should only do Steins Gate videos, which was a great idea if only I had that much to say about Steins Gate. And then I had myself a little laugh. hilarious me from a year before I started this video. Anyway, well, so far I've been justifying the honestly ludicrous amount of time I've been spending on this as improving my writing and editing skills for, you know, career reasons and such, and well, I think I've been pretty successful on this front. If I'm gonna keep doing this, I think I need to be bigger. And while there's still a bunch of Steins Gate spin-offs and such to inevitably cover, if I'm gonna stand out, I think I need to take the channel in a new direction, by which I mean taking a very big gamble. See, I managed to write most of this series in only a couple months, which left me a bunch of free time to work on something kind of huge and ridiculous. Oh, don't worry, it's still very much related to Steins Gate, so if I still have your attention, I can almost guarantee you will like it. But hopefully this will draw me a little more attention, because this literally took me like 5 months to write, so if it does not do well, I may seppuku in front of the Radicon building. So the next thing you should see on this channel, assuming I don't get distracted to make a video on My Darling's Embrace or something before then, should be said huge video. Please, 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 dear God, tune in. As always, thank you so much for your time, friends, and I really hope to see you in the next video.